Good morning. It is Sunday, October 17th, 2021. My name is Curt Simic. It's my honor to represent the Indiana University Eye Association, and we are very honored, privileged to be joined by some of the pioneers of field hockey at Indiana University.
I love that
First,
word.
we will simply ask you your name, your years at IU, and then your degree and where you are now.
I'm Beverly Johnson. I was at Indiana University from 1964 to 67, graduated in 67 with a BS in physical education.
I'm Sue Feemster. Went to IU from 66 and 67, transferred after that, didn't graduate, and played field hockey.
I'm Ellen J. I was at IU from 64 to 68, graduated with a degree in elementary ed, stuck around another year and did a master's, and it was school library and elementary ed. And at this point, I'm retired from Montgomery County Schools in Maryland and moved back to Meadowood 2 years ago.
Wow. I'm Carol Franz. I was here 65, 66, and 2 years prior to that, I was at Normal College of the American Gymnastic Union of Indiana University. I got a scholarship to there. When I got off stage, they said, "Where's the scholarship from?" I go, "I have no clue." But that was my beginning in PE, and I graduated in 66 and got my master's later.
Hi, I'm Alice Hillis, and I was here at IU playing field hockey from 64 to 65. I got an AB degree in French, and then an MS degree in secondary education. I originally was from Louisville, Kentucky, but I live in Indianapolis now.
Okay, thank you. Well, we're here to learn the stories and get a picture of what it was like. We're first going to ask you to tell us what brought you to field hockey, and did anyone remember this? Did anyone answer the ad in the IDS?
Recruitment.
Let's take a look at this.
I barely remember that.
Including, and we'd like to know who Phil Kilgore was if you had part of that. So if you'd like.
Phyllis?
I can tell you, well, she was captain I don't know, 1 year, 2 years, several. She
Right.
played on the defensive side of things. And one game when we finally scored 1-0 Ball State, right at the end of the game, she came running down the field to congratulate she had her stick in her hand and threw her hands out to hug her, and I was standing right there.
You all have very diverse backgrounds and interests and degree areas. How did you come to field hockey here?
Okay.
Well,
Being a physical education major, I took a hockey class, and the rest is history, because Ms. Burrus encouraged us all, of course, to play on the team if we were taking the class, for heaven's sake. So hockey class led to hockey practice, led to lots of hockey games. It's fun.
Well, I came from Kentucky, and the private schools, the Catholic schools, all had field hockey, but the public schools did not. I had no idea what field hockey was. And I transferred here and saw the girls playing, and I thought, I think I can run fast enough to play that game. And I was a tennis player, so I could handle the stick fairly well. And so it was great to be able to play in college.
I played for 4 years in high school. I went to high school in Connecticut, and field hockey was bigger on the East Coast. So it was one of the reasons I wanted to come to IU, because I knew they had a team.
Wow. Yeah, I had never heard of field hockey, and coming from the public schools in Indianapolis, girls were too weak to play competitive sports, so I never played anything. Field hockey was my first competitive sport, and I was in Coach Burrus's class, and then she said, "Why don't you come out and play field hockey?" That's how I got into it.
yeah. Well, I actually am the product of one of those Catholic schools from Kentucky, so I played 4 years in high school.
You did.
And it was really exciting to me to be able to come to Indiana and play. I was also a swimmer, and I was in Oceanities, which is the synchronized swimming team that was here at the time. I don't know if they still have that or not, but
I don't think so.
Well, let's just open it up.
Okay.
Help us get a picture of what the program and what field hockey was like. A picture of what it was like in your days here.
Did we practice every day? After
No,
No, we didn't
I didn't
practice.
practice
No.
much.
No.
We practiced in the afternoon. It was
Yeah.
like 3:30, 4:30, something like that,
Right.
which is when all of the music school big ensembles rehearsed. And my choice was, I'm going to chase a field hockey ball. I can always play in orchestras and bands the rest of my life. And so I made that choice how to
Yeah.
spend my time. But I think it was like 3 days a week, maybe something like
Yeah, I think
that.
we
and I saw
practiced.
this team running this morning.
You remember our laps?
Coach Burrus said we had to do 7 laps around the field before
It's-
we started, skill work.
It started with 7, and as the season went on, she kept adding one. I think we got to 11
and
or
if you
15
think
or
about it,
something.
that's
Right.
over a mile.
But
isn't it?
of course, running on that field, you took
That was wood
was
on
a,
field
a
that was on the
dangerous
grass,
thing
but-
because the field was so lumpy and bumpy, and
Well, it was just a grass field.
Yeah, the
it was
grass
just a
field. It's
grass
still
field.
there behind the hyper building.
Well, some of us would come out early before she came out, and we'd run a few laps.
Sure,
and when
to
she
warm
came out,
up.
oh, we've already run them.
Yeah. Sometimes she'd
As long
buy
as
that.
we didn't
Sometimes
get
she
winded
wouldn't.
in the games and practice, we got away with
Yeah.
it.
Well, she made up for it.
But did you
she
all
made up
take the
for it as we
Harvard?
went along.
Did you all take the Harvard step test?
Oh, the
I remember
Harvard step
taking that
test.
where
I
you
don't
step
remember.
up,
I
down.
remember that.
Yeah.
Take your heart rate and then get it going
Feels your
and then rest
knees.
for a minute and see if you
Right.
recover. Well, my recovery was so fast because Coach Burrus really had me in shape that they said that's not possible. So they made me take the Harvard step test again. And they said, yeah, good recovery.
Mainly, it
still
was
do
lots
that?
of fun.
I wish.
And just so much fun to be with your teammates and to try to get better. And Coach Burrus was a wonderful lady to have on the sidelines,
Right.
teaching us the game and rooting for us.
Yeah. And I was center half. Maybe we could all tell what position
sure
we
the
played. But
positions are the
center half is probably the most runningest position. Now they don't call it center half. So they're like, what? And they say, oh, it's
Defense.
called
I don't know what they are.
midfield.
Midfielder.
It's not center half anymore.
Well,
A few things have changed in field hockey over the last 50 years or so.
They don't have the bowling.
They don't do the starting at the middle with the boink, 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 and the bowling
Yeah.
whoever
They're a
touched the
little
ball.
different.
Now they tell you who's going to
The
start off
uniforms
with
are
it.
different.
yeah.
Our uniforms
We
were.
didn't have
We
uniforms.
didn't. And I was
They were those, didn't we
Well,
call them
tunic.
pennies?
Pennies.
Pennies, yeah. They
Pennies.
just told you what color you were, but it wasn't a
Right.
uniform.
It was
Fit
like
over
a
your head.
fit over your head and then tied on the
around your
sides.
Yeah.
And,
I
you
thought it
know,
was called a tunic, but it's
Had a
Well,
number
penny.
on it.
we
penny.
called them pennies.
And I
was a
was
penny.
thinking, didn't we wear blouses with
We wore-
collars?
we wore-
yeah, we
we
wore
wore
shirts, but
t-shirts.
then
We
I don't
wore our
remember
own
anything
blouses.
about.
We all had our own
but
white
we had our
blouses
own
and
different-
laundry
each team
and
had the different color
Yeah.
of the penny.
Yeah.
So
Right,
yeah,
but that was-
you know,
And then we
crazy.
had those shin guards that you strapped on. Do they have shin guards now?
Yeah,
in their
under their
socks?
socks.
Aren't
Yeah.
they? Aren't they in the sock now?
Okay, we had
Yeah.
to put them.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
put them on wrong, you had the buckles inside. You catch your feet and you couldn't run.
Yeah, we were low maintenance. We were low cost. So, well, do they still have the an inner? Wasn't I an inner? You were
You're
a wing.
I was a
Well,
wing.
I was an
wing,
inner.
inner,
Yeah.
center.
You were
Yeah,
a wing.
I
I
was
was
a
an
wing.
inner.
Wing.
Do they still have
Wing.
inners?
Wing.
You were all wing?
That's good.
What's an inner again?
I was next to
Oh,
Sue.
in the
Sue
front
was
line.
the
Yeah.
wing.
The forward.
I
You
was
were
an
the
inner.
offensive line,
then,
so
yeah.
you guys were the
We were
defense
just-
I was
behind
back
us.
there, yeah.
You were right behind us.
Right.
The
Yeah,
sun's getting
pretty
bad.
crazy. Lots of fun.
One of the things I remember, well, two things actually. We were going to play Purdue, and everybody kept saying, "Oh, the bucket," and I couldn't figure out what the bucket was. And I asked Beverly, and she said, "It's the old Oaken bucket, and if we win, we get some kind of bucket because that's what the football team does." So we were up for Purdue, and we beat Purdue, and I don't
4
think
to
they brought the
6.
bucket with them, so we were pretty disappointed.
Well, now the 1 year we were supposed to play Purdue before the IU Purdue game,
Really?
and it was snowed out. So I was glad we didn't play in the snow. At least we didn't do that.
Yeah.
But we beat them, right?
Yeah,
beat 'em.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, we beat
66. We beat
yeah.
everybody.
Well, now,
we were
is this
undefeated.
true? We're the only team at IU that had undefeated season of all the sports.
In
Well, we had the only
1966
winning
women's
season. We
field
happened to
hockey.
be undefeated on
That
top
can't
of
be
it.
true, can
Yes,
it?
yes,
It
it
was
is.
true. We believed them.
Yes, it
Of
was.
course,
They
you
never
know.
recognized
Did you ever go see the
There
football
wasn't
team that
Facebook
year?
back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they couldn't
Well,
play
when we
very
traveled,
well.
to games. We could only play games within the state of Indiana that we could drive there and get back in the same
In
day.
the coach's car, you
It
know.
was university carpool cars. She drove one car and an upperclassman drove the other.
Yeah.
And we had to wear hose and heels and skirts to travel in to the games.
good.
I forgot about that.
Because
We
the
looked
very
good.
last game of my senior year, I couldn't play the game because my sister decided to get married that Saturday here in Bloomington. And so I went off to see the team off, and I'm wearing slacks and this stuff, and the dean's yelling over to Coach Burrus, why isn't she dressed appropriately? Because she can't go with us on this trip. But it was a very different, we bought our own meals when we were on the road.
We
and
would never think about wearing slacks.
no, you didn't wear them
Yeah,
to
it was
class
pretty
back
crazy.
then.
I don't think anybody
Except
did
in
to Mike.
finals. You
Or
could wear
blue
shorts and
jeans.
slacks finals
Yeah.
week, but to class you wore
Non-existent.
skirts all
Yeah.
the time.
AWS
dresses.
changed the rule like our sophomore year that you could wear pants on campus.
Really? What year?
65 maybe.
Oh, no, I was
64.
here. We always had to wear skirts.
We always had to wear skirts when we traveled.
And I have the only photo of Coach Burrus in a dress. In a jumper on the field, right? Gail, I think that's right.
Yeah.
Well, I got hurt in the last game of the season. Somebody knocked the ball out to me, and I was running down the field and stepped in one of those holes Beverly was talking about and tore a meniscus.
Ooh.
And so I kind of fell over on the thing, and everybody's going on down the field, get the ball, and so forth. And so Coach Burrus came over, and she said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I don't think so." I said, "I think I've done something to my knee." And she said, "Okay." She said, "Well, move off the field over there, and we'll take care of you after the game." So I stayed over there waiting for them to come get me. So they did, and they took me inside the building because we didn't have trainers.
We didn't have a trainer.
We had no trainers.
Miss Burrus was it.
Miss Burrus
She
was
was
it.
If you fell down, they just say crawl off
You
the
felt
field.
it. She said, "Move over there so we can finish the game." And so, fortunately, my mother was in town that weekend, and she took me into her office, and because we had no cell phones, and I called my mom to come get me, and we went over to the student health center, and
That's serious.
they X-rayed me and said, "Yeah, you've torn a meniscus. Here's some crutches."
Way
And
you
wrapped
go.
my knee up, and so that was just about before the first semester was over. Sometime it was in late December, early December, I guess, late November.
Well,
So
It's because when I had this big egg on my head from having been hit with the stick, they took me to the health center and they said, "Do you have a headache?" I said, "No." "Do you have an upset stomach?" "No." "You have a hard head." Handed me an ice bag and something else. None of this concussion protocol stuff or any of that stuff. My concern was getting back to the dorm in time to still be able to eat the meal before they closed down the dining room.
Yeah. Oh, mercy. Yeah. I kept notes. I went back through some old day books from when I was at IU and wrote down every time the word hockey appeared. And there's some interesting, fun things there because I'd say, worked us hard, ran till we couldn't breathe, freezing, so cold. And then one time I said, "Sue and I played a great game. We were in for 5 minutes." So we were working it out 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so much
would love
fun.
to see that.
And it's
got
interesting
pictures
because
of it,
when
yeah.
Sue and I got back in contact, we were trying to remember various things, and I had said, in my mind, that the thing I remembered most is how much fun it was. And Sue's first line to me was, "I just remember how much fun it was." Because
We
we
played
had,
for the joy of playing.
Oh,
we didn't
yes.
have scholarships. We didn't have the pressure they
And
have
we-
now.
No.
We just played
Yeah,
because
we
we loved
didn't
playing.
realize what we were missing because we just enjoyed it.
And nobody cared about the team. There was no
Nobody took a
IDS
picture of
stories.
us.
There's no records of who
We
played on
never
what year.
made the yearbook.
Nope, we just
No.
did it for ourselves.
yeah.
So, but we didn't care, did we? We didn't know. We didn't know any better.
We were
we just got to
misfits in a
play,
way.
Yeah, it was great.
and that's the way sports
It was
started,
just
and
the
that's the way they
people
should
and
be.
Yeah.
fun playing.
Well, and the camaraderie was the big
Camaraderie,
thing.
Oh,
you know,
my.
Oh yeah.
And Miss Burrus would have us to her home.
at the end of the
She had a
season.
big
Yes.
dog,
She
didn't
had
she?
a Great Dane. She
Yeah,
had a
Great
tail
Dane.
whip-wrapped about
Did you
this
go
high
to
on.
Yeah, yeah. So she was our friend and our coach and our professor, and we were trying to remember. Basically, she wasn't that much older than us.
That's true.
In retrospect,
Nope, I
so
wanted that time.
you know, we really liked her.
She
really
was in her
liked
early
her.
20s, wasn't she?
Well,
Maybe
she's
a little more
7
than
to
that.
9 years
Maybe.
older
And
than
then
us.
I understand when she got here, and very young and all, and she said, what's the schedule for women's sports? And then IU say, what? No women's sports. And that's where she started it then.
Yeah, what, 62, Gail?
And
62?
I think Dr. Aldrich, who was head of the
Anita.
physical education department at that time, and maybe the whole thing, she took some money out of her budget, what little money we had, because we got nothing from athletics, which of course is historically what has happened with women's athletics until Title IX. So Anita was a great part of that for us.
Yeah, Anita Aldrich.
Kay did all kinds of little special things for you. As a freshman, I took riflery for my PE class just because it was something different. And the grad student that taught it gave all the freshmen C's and gave all the majors A's. And I was a little annoyed as a freshman getting a C. And so I thought, okay, next semester I'm going to take something I know how to do, and that was basketball with Kay. And the freshmen had to buy green shorts, and the majors all wore navy blue shorts. And Kay said, you don't have to buy green shorts. You can wear your own blue shorts. You won't insult the blue shorts. You play well.
That's nice.
But then this grad student saw me in blue shorts in the locker room, and the look on her face was precious.
Funny.
I'm also told one of the other differences was who officiated your games.
The coaches, right?
Coaches did, I think. Although I remember her on the sidelines, so I think we had.
I don't know.
refs,
Probably
but-
in her
Probably
dress.
student referees that were learning in referee class. It's typically what we had.
it wasn't
We maybe had one-
anybody with great experience, that's for sure.
Obviously.
No, we were winging it.
And I was in center half, and Kay and Coach Burrus would. I guess I was real active, going back and forth from sideline to sideline. She'd, Carol, get in the center.
And stay there.
Yeah, two halfbacks beside you for the sides.
Yeah,
you
you
need to
don't have
cover
to
the
do
middle. Yeah. But when we went to the field hockey camp in the Poconos that summer, a bunch of us decided
Yeah,
to
I
do
didn't do
it
that.
because we wanted to. The coaching there was British high class.
Oh.
It was a combination of coaching and reffing, but it was a whole different level of understanding the game. And
Well, how many of you girls went to the Poconos?
I think 8 out of the 11 starters that
didn't.
year went.
No, I didn't. What year was
I
that?
didn't know that
Ellen?
about that. Did you?
But it was
I didn't go, but I
either.
got in touch with my friend of mine who did go.
It
And
was a
she said-
wonderful experience. We were playing against all of the hotshot college teams from the Mid-Atlantic and the East, and we had all the coaches and the staff were all British, you know.
Yeah.
In fact, Appleby was there and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was really a nifty experience. The year before that, we won games like 2-1 and 3-2. The next year it was 8-0. So we really learned a lot that summer.
Yeah.
Did you have to pay your own way?
Yeah.
Of course.
Well,
Yeah.
and get yourself there. And all, my folks drove me from Connecticut, and the rest of you guys came out from the Midwest, that kind of thing.
Crazy. I know.
But we almost beat the top school there. We had a few fill-ins adding to our team, but the coach was the ref, and we were up 1-0, and her team shot from outside the striking circle, and she called it a goal, and everybody knew it wasn't.
Oh, home cooking.
Oh, those referees, right?
Well, when it's the coach of the team
When
that
it's
can't
coach of the
possibly lose,
team.
as they called us, Indiana.
I think that's called bias.
Oh.
Let's focus on the 65 and 66 seasons. We talked about the first year and then the origins and the camp in the Poconos, which led to skill improvement and the ascension of the program. Talk about those particular 2 seasons, 65 and 66.
65 and 66.
Oh, it's good weather. Good weather.
I guess it was a long time ago that we don't
look,
remember
see
it.
what Gail just said.
Yeah.
65.
Well, I remember the contrast between the 2 years after the experience at the Poconos, and then how much better we played, and
that was undefeated season?
that was the undefeated one and the only winning season of all the teams on campus.
That is crazy.
And the last
crazy good.
game, all of the other teams came to support us. And we had a crowd for a change and things of that sort. That's the only time I remember any, shall I say, recognition of the fact we existed. But it was mostly the contrast to how much better we played that second year, of the 2 years.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, go.
Along those lines, you talk about recognition. How were you received on campus and with your peers and fellow students at that?
We were ignored.
Like, what's that?
A bunch of those silly girls running around chasing a ball.
We weren't extra tall like basketball or built like football. I guess we just kind of melded in.
Nobody.
Well,
really
and we
knew
were a
it.
small group.
Yeah, they
You
were.
know, I was a transfer from Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. And I can remember people saying, oh my gosh, how big IU is, how big IU is. Well, in the School of HPENR, Health, Physical Education, Recreation, you were a small class of women, and you got to know everybody, and you knew your professors, and they knew you. And so, you know, you were in this wonderful
most of your
small
classes were right
Oh
there.
yeah, your classes were all in the building, and
Well,
so
I wasn't
we
a
did take
phys ed.
physiology, didn't we? In another
we
building?
go to
Sciences.
one of the tall ones,
Anatomy and
Valentine
whatever.
or
Yeah.
something.
And I
Well,
wasn't
if you
a
were to
physical
science general
education
classes.
major, and
Okay.
everybody was kind of surprised. Well, you know, why are you doing that?
True.
And it was just for the fun.
I wasn't either.
And I
Every-
was very
all my
excited to be
friends
part
thought
of it, even a little part.
All my friends thought I was either a physical education major or a music major because that's where I spent my time. But I wasn't. I was an education school major.
Oh, that's right.
Well, Curt,
We
I
were
would
very
like
diverse.
to say that I think the reason the 66 team was much better than the 65 team is because some of us transferred.
Well, we had new players
We
coming
had
in.
new players come in.
Yeah, we drafted some people.
And we had some folks, and it was really through. I mean, I can remember us being behind and getting together on the sidelines, saying, "Come on, we can do this. Get the ball up to us. We'll put it in," and all things like that. And it was it's pretty significant to go undefeated. I don't care what year it is. What
sport.
decade it was, what sport it is.
Our seasons weren't as well. Our season maybe was long, but we didn't play as many games. We played like 4 or 5 games a year instead of whatever they do now, 16 or 20 some or something. It was very different on that account too.
No, it's so exciting to be an intercollegiate
Right,
team.
there you go.
First
Yes.
time ever. I mean, you never even heard of that.
Yeah.
And, you know, we played Purdue, we played Hanover, we played Indiana
Earlham.
State University,
Ball
we
State.
played
Ball
Earlham
State.
College, we
Valparaiso.
played Ball
State.
State. So,
Valpo?
you know,
Yeah, we
we
played
were
Valparaiso.
playing, this wasn't a club team, this wasn't intramural, we were Indiana
varsity.
University's women's field hockey team representing the
Yeah,
university.
that was amazing.
And we were the first one that, like we said, keep saying, we were undefeated, the only ones on campus, by golly, out of everything. So it was incredibly exciting. And I know that it was so exciting for Miss Burrus. She was very happy. So,
And then when we were recognized about 4 years ago, you know, we didn't have the special feel then because I hadn't seen anybody for years, but I got that letter that said, you are a woman's pioneer athlete from IU. And I go, yeah. And that's where all this excitement started. Yeah, it was basketball and field hockey.
Well, when we had that first Eye Association women's class, would have been, what, 2018, I think it was, and your dad was there at that dinner, and he couldn't believe how many of the women all mentioned Kay Burrus as being such an influence in our lives. And it was, for, whether it was basketball or field hockey or whatever, because she coached. And that's when we started the role to get her into the Hall of Fame. After that, he was so impressed with it. It was so pervasive of all of us that had experienced anything with her. That was an exciting night.
yeah, the Hall of Fame dinner was an incredible
Yeah,
experience,
that
especially
was.
for me.
I didn't-
I just had never reconnected to anything
That's
on
exactly
campus.
right.
and to come back and wow, what a presentation and what an honor and a tribute that was to her. So
Yeah.
very impressive.
And be part of it.
Oh gosh, yeah.
This is great.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
I think that, if I remember correctly, we called her Ms. Burrus, our coach.
Miss Burrus before Dr. Burrus.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
before and she was working on her doctorate, and I was president of the PIM club.
PIM.
Physical education.
Oh,
Majors
what
and
was
Majors
that?
and minors, PIM club, that's right.
And
Right.
I had to
forgot
go in
about
and see her about something, and I told her that I was transferring out of physical education and going fully pre-med. And she said, "Why are you doing that?" I said, "Well," and she could be pretty stern at times, like when she told me to get off the field, move over
Yeah,
there.
when you're injured.
I knew to move. And so I said, "Well, I think I really want to be a doctor." Of course, which didn't happen. I turned out to be an athletic director, but who knows? And she was very encouraging later. She was very upset with me. And I said, "Well, how can I say to you that this is what I want, my life's work, what I want to do, and I want to be a sports doctor." At that time, I didn't know what an orthopedic surgeon was, or I'm not sure we even had any then, 60 years ago.
I don't think so.
So we kind of bonded over that, about what I wanted to do, and she began to encourage me to do what I wanted to do, and so I'll never forget that. And then, of course, I wound up having a career in sports, so it's really kind of interesting how you come full
Right.
circle.
Right.
But definitely she influenced me in terms of being on time, especially because I didn't like to get up and be on time and go to class, but be on time, and the discipline and the kind of things that we learned through hockey
Yes.
was great.
Yeah. You ran and you thought, I can't run anymore, but then, yes, you could. You could run more. And
And we did.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, as a freshman coming out here from the East Coast, I didn't know anybody, and she was kind of that solid rock that you could turn to, and the support that you needed to get adjusted to a new environment and that kind of thing. And we got along real well.
I taught physical education for 5 years, and Sue mentioned the Title IX, which came in, gosh, I don't know.
79,
72.
I think. 72?
About 71, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Oh,
71,
later.
because I was teaching at
And then you could wear
Jeffersonville High School.
skirts.
And made a huge difference because, you actually got time in the gym to practice basketball, to practice volleyball. You actually got
Gymnastics,
time on fields and in buildings where before you had no choice. You did not have a place where you could practice every day because the boys and the men were always there, and we would have to go after or in between or wherever you could find a spot.
One of the things we wanted to touch on, we've been talking about this off camera, the perspective that you had in the early pioneering days of field hockey as compared to now. Very, very different. What are your thoughts on what you see now and the opportunities for the women?
Now, the equipment is amazing. And the training areas, amazing.
The
Well,
pressure is also-
unfortunately, the state of Indiana doesn't have any high school field hockey teams, and so
That's true.
a lot
Right
of
from
the players now are, I don't know if they're scholarship players, but they come from all over the country.
World.
international when they introduced the teams on
One-
Friday.
yes,
it's amazing how
Scotland,
many-
Netherlands,
Ireland,
And they
yeah,
come
interesting.
because of field hockey.
Yeah.
Not just coming to IU, but they come because of field
that
hockey.
is right, yeah.
And we were fortunate to have field hockey, but it's not why we came to IU.
I don't think
So-
we thought of ourselves, at least I didn't think of myself as a pioneer.
No.
Partly, I guess, because I'd played in high school and it was just continuing it, but
That's
I don't-
how I felt.
we
Yeah.
didn't really,
I
we
thought,
didn't
no big
recognize
deal.
that
We're
we
just
were
here
doing
playing field
something, I
hockey.
think is-
Today some of my friends say, why are you being honored? I say, well, you have to play field hockey in the 60s. then you get honored.
If you live long enough, you get honored.
Yeah, 50 years later, bingo.
One of the things that we've always thought about through your era, especially, was the spirit in which you competed and participated. Talk about that, and what do you see now as any differences or any similarities? What are the key differences, I suppose, between what you see at present?
I'm not sure the basic is any different. That you're there for the love of the sport and for,
team sense and
working
the
with your teammates.
How about
As far
AstroTurf?
as running or helping each other out, and that is still the same. Now the conditions in the field, obviously, this field is beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
And
marvelous.
but the spirit and the joy of competing is probably the same.
I think that's universal to
Yeah,
sports.
the
That's what makes us
energy,
wanna
the
play.
excitement, again, the sheer enjoyment of the exertion and the energy behind it. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the same. Because
I tell you, it's a lot harder today.
I think there's a lot of pressure on them
these
today
young
because
ladies
of
were here at 8:30 this morning on a Sunday morning, getting ready for a hockey game in the middle of homecoming.
You think they're
So
more...
there's a huge commitment on the part of any athlete,
Yeah.
whether male or female.
and the travel
very
that they
different.
have to do, the time they're out of class, and we didn't miss any classes for
Yeah.
playing ball because it
No.
was
It was extracurricular.
Yes.
It wasn't your main focus.
right.
Right.
You think they're more disciplined than we were as far as...
Sure.
They have a lot more they have to do, the weight
yeah,
rooms
like,
and all
yeah,
that
the
kind of
weight-
stuff in addition to just the sports training. It's a more time consuming commitment than it was for us.
I think the reason we all play is still the same.
Yeah.
Even though now you have scholarships and now you have the possibility of playing in the Olympics and, internationally and all those things. And that drives a lot of people to get a scholarship. And I'm sure there's players playing here today that wouldn't be in school if they didn't have a scholarship. That's still true in many places. So I'm believe that the same spirit underlies all of that we've talked about playing, and I think it does in men's sports as well. And women really don't have much opportunity to play much beyond the pro level, except in a few sports. So I think it's the love of the game that keeps people going.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We're going to shift gears. Give a little pause. We'll come back to, and you brought props, and of course, we're here to make sure the story is told of someone I knew as Dr. Burrus, who you couldn't hide out in her class either. She would know you, and you couldn't make a move, especially in even during my days. And I appreciate her, but in a different way as you do. So we'll finish with memories, impact, and of course your props, and indicate just how special she was to all of you.
when I got my master's and I was at IUPUI, I was in Indianapolis, Dr. Burrus was my professor years after being here. We met again, and so when we introduced ourselves, I put my maiden name in there, and she kind of looked at me like, and then I talked to her afterwards to reminisce about,
Wow.
I knew you before.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I knew you when you were Miss Burrus.
Wow.
I think the great thing she instilled in me is the ability to develop the discipline to play and to also do well in class. Something she stressed, and not to miss class, not to miss practice, do both well. She set a very high standard for all of us.
I think so, no doubt.
I think we all remember that, and I've tried to keep some of those standards going in my personal life and what I did with sports. And seeing this picture just brings back so many memories, because that's what she looked like when we were here.
Yes.
That's
On the field, tousled hair, and
Yeah, that's
yeah, she expected a lot of us.
yeah.
And we didn't know how much we could give, but we could always give more because she expected us to. And that was an exciting thing that somebody, you know, that we could do this.
Well,
So
as much as her whole career went around sports and women's sports and physical education, she was inclusive of those of us that had other career ideas but still wanted to play. It wasn't, oh, well, you guys
Yeah.
aren't part of us. It wasn't any of that
Yeah.
at all.
yeah, yeah.
Your
Do you think
stick?
it's good? Go ahead.
I think it was just the leadership and the fact that she was one of the first to start this. And when you start with no field hockey, and you know, take people from
Creative.
different disciplines that never played in before, that's
Wow.
incredible. The inspiration that she gave, and you know, the stick-to-itiveness maybe of how she said, well, you know, you can do this if you can run, you can do it.
Right.
And that's the way it ended up. So that was great. She was she was the pioneer in women's sports.
Right.
No doubt,
Absolutely.
no doubt. Because coming from a small high school in Indiana, we still played basketball half court.
Yep. Well, everybody did in those days.
Did
That was the
everybody
rule.
that played field hockey end up playing basketball for Coach
No, I
Burrus?
never played
I did.
basketball for Coach Burrus. But yeah, it was a totally new
Yeah.
opening of something moving forward.
Yeah. Exactly.
Just never had the opportunity or even thought about this.
Well,
Being
she
on it.
worked on starting it here, but then to the Midwest and to the national level and all. It wasn't just
Yeah.
us that benefited from
Because
it.
it's interesting that you coming from the East Coast had
Yeah.
previous experience, and you
Yeah.
coming from the Catholic women's high schools in Kentucky. Me in middle America, America here.
Never heard of it.
No,
and-
never heard of it.
Yeah.
Never
No,
heard of it.
In talking with some of the current players, they start 5, 7 years old and all that kind of stuff. They've been playing their whole life, never mind just 4
Yeah.
years in high school.
Yeah.
It's a different.
I think they're on
environment
traveling
for women.
teams now,
Oh,
aren't
yeah,
they? The
yeah,
kids are
for
on
teams.
traveling teams.
Is there a push to get field hockey in Indiana schools?
In IPS, Indianapolis?
In Indiana, all of Indiana.
Cool, yeah, I don't know.
No,
No,
probably.
I think soccer has taken over
Yeah.
so many places.
Well, that's true, soccer.
Soccer's
Girls
pretty
soccer,
And
yeah, they
basketball has
start
their
at
own
4 and
softball's
5,
pretty
5 and 6
Softball-
playing
softball's
soccer,
pretty big,
little
yeah.
girls. So
And
there's-
basketball now is they actually play with 5 players. When I played for Coach Burrus, there was 6 because we were not strong enough to run the length of the
You had 3 on one end and 3 on the other.
So
and
you
could
did
bounce
not
the ball.
pass the
It's
center
like
line.
What was the dribble? I can't
3
remember.
times. You could
Three
bounce
times, that's what it was.
And then you
3
had
times
to
to pass the
it,
ball.
Yeah.
and you couldn't
It
cross
was
the
really
center
a game
line.
of passing.
Yeah.
Well, then the next step was you had 2 rovers, so you had 2 guards, 2 forwards,
And 2
and
that
2
were
rovers,
strong
and the
enough
2
to
rovers
go
could run the
run up
whole
and
field,
down.
the whole court,
Right.
but the others couldn't.
Oh, my
Then it
gosh.
went to the
Unbelievable.
men's
We were
rules
very
full court.
adaptable, weren't we?
Yeah, they changed rules a lot.
Yeah,
it
there's
was
6
great.
people, 3 on that end and 3 on this end. Don't cross the center line.
Well, and you know the thing about field hockey and what Coach Burrus brought out in people was
Yeah.
that anybody, any size person, if they can run, they can play. And so you didn't have to be,
Right.
real tall or strong or
Right.
whatever. Well, you did have to be strong.
You had to,
You had to be
have good
strong.
arms.
So-
Endurance.
Endurance,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was through the hockey class that I had to take for my major that, she said, why don't you come out for the team? And
She was-
so
I didn't know
She
that.
was good at sizing people up and saying,
she'd
"You're
tag you and
coming."
invite you, and you would have never thought about it. You're just trying to get through your classes and get on. But that was she
And
said,
I
come out.
remember she was kind of quietly forceful. She wasn't like loud and belligerent. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
She had strength and it was not overbearing, but yeah.
she was a great gal.
Yeah.
Great gal. So
That's a great
love that.
great photograph of her.
Yeah, that is a great
It is.
photograph.
It's
And she taught
captures
us
her
most of all
personality.
that we could do more than we thought
Yeah,
we could.
you're right.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we hope
So
she
we had
gets
a good time,
honored
didn't we?
Yep, we had
continually.
a lot of fun.
I've been asked to present one more question to you.
Okay.
The role of the goalkeeper. How many goalkeepers do we have here today?
none.
I was asked by another person talk about the role of the goalkeeper. Stick up for the goalkeepers, if you will.
Well, you know
I was
what?
told that it's changed over the years.
Oh
They
my!
put like 4 people in the cage, and I
when-
thought, what are all those team members doing in the cage? It was supposed to be the goalie.
When they're doing the penalty corners, it's a whole different
Yes,
setup.
that's
like
a
different
that now.
game.
And they lay
Oh,
the
my.
sticks
Yeah.
horizontal on the
because it
ground.
would bounce off of there, and it was a
Yeah.
straight
That
shot
was
of
very
the ball.
interesting.
I don't remember any goallie, do you? I mean,
We couldn't lay the stick
do you-
evenly on the
I didn't-
ground because there were the chuck holes.
they didn't have all that equipment on either.
Oh, those poor goalies.
They had
Bless
they
them.
had-
They had
big-
shin guards.
And they had more than shin guards.
Oh, did they?
yeah, they had
Little
real
shin
long
guards,
ones.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
they weren't
We didn't
covered
even
the
wear
way-
mouthpieces.
Right.
Oh, no.
And there were
No
face
face
masks.
masks.
No,
Yeah,
no
they looked like a
mouthpieces, no
Ninja
face
turtle
masks.
yesterday.
Well, the role of goalie basically was to keep the ball out of there from the other team. However, sometimes that didn't happen, but most of the time it did. But that's
Yeah, if it
I
got
don't
past
know.
all of
They
us,
had
she was
big
in
gloves,
trouble.
and they could use
Yeah,
their
they could
hands to
catch the
stop it,
ball.
where nobody else could use their hands.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
Yeah.
I suppose that's still the case.
yeah, I think so.
interesting.
Do you remember them at the game yesterday yelling sticks? Because remember, if somebody
Well, you couldn't lift it
Took
above
the-
your shoulder. It
if
had
it
to
went,
stay
and somebody say sticks, and then they got a free
penalty
hit.
went over to the other team.
Yeah, or something like that. But I don't think I didn't hear that yesterday. Did you?
No.
Yeah.
They must
Yeah.
keep it down.
I didn't want to be a goalkeeper.
Yeah,
I wanted
nah.
to keep my teeth.
Go back there a lot all by yourself if the game's at the
Yeah,
other
right.
end. And
Yeah,
that's
no
where you want the
fun.
game to be at the other end. So
Yeah, so you can relax.
if you lose concentration, that wouldn't
I think
be
the goalkeeper is a special person, and as far as having to, I think it would be very intense to realize you're the only one there and hear this ball coming to you.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I think that's why most of us were glad that our
Somebody
friends were
else wanted to
goalkeepers
do it.
instead of us.
I see you've brought props. If you would just kind of explain the significance of what you have with you today.
This is my own personal stick that I have kept all these years. Obviously, I've had room to keep a lot of things, but it has been an interesting topic of conversation. I took it to the Hall of Fame dinner, and walking around at the pre-cocktail party with my hockey stick was a very interesting experience. This is a sports game, general, made in England. Solid wood. I have no idea what kind of wood. Has to be really hard. We always would tape our sticks to help us grip the sticks, and because of the perspiration in your hands, and so everybody had their own individual wrap or that type of thing. And unfortunately, boy, mine is really starting to dry out. But
It shows character,
yeah,
Yeah.
it was
And
so-
Babs, explain how different the stick is
Oh,
there
yeah.
than
oh
what they're
gosh.
playing
hold
with
that
now.
stick.
Yeah,
Well, this
this
is an old one,
stick
too.
is much more has much more on the head here, much more elongated,
Yeah.
and now they're more snub-nosed and rounded. I guess that probably makes it much easier to juggle the ball or to control it. Who knows? But yeah, I'm my own hockey stick. I've had it all these years, and the ball is someplace in the attic. I don't know.
Yeah.
I hid it because my grandkids, you didn't want them playing with the hockey ball.
They're
That would
very
be
hard.
hard, and it would
Oh
break
gosh,
things
and
around the
mine's
house.
all nicked up. It has lots of character. I wish I could have found it.
And we could only hit with that surface, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Didn't they use both surfaces yesterday?
I don't know.
Yeah, they
Well, you
would
can turn it.
hit
I mean,
yeah,
that's
from
I think
either
why the
side.
stick was designed
Different,
the way it
yeah.
is now.
Okay.
To give you more maneuverability.
Yeah.
This is Kay Burrus' stick that she played with when she was a player. I just got in the middle, so I got to hold on it. But I never had a stick of my own. I think the team had a barrel, and there were a bunch of sticks in it, and we just used
pulled
one of
one
them.
out.
So I never had one. But I'm very pleased to be able to have her stick in my hands and
Yeah. She
Sure.
played where?
Normal,
she played
Southern Illinois.
Illinois,
normal
college in Illinois. I don't know where she played high school, but hers is nicely wrapped with good thick cloth. It makes it comfortable. It also would take the sting out of it when you hit the ball if you have the cloth.
Right.
Yeah.
The jarring.
And I forgot my stick, and it's hanging on my wall in one of my rooms in my house. And it's, it's got a
there.
special place. But I forgot to bring it.
Final thoughts?
I'm just glad they're recognizing we existed, because for so many years that was not the case, and there's still some discrepancy in the history and what the facts are that we're working to correct. But it's just nice to be acknowledged in these recent years.
Well, what part of the athletic department did not know there was field hockey in the 60s?
I think it's the media people that keep the records, and
So how do you
say.
prove it? They never took our picture.
there's some,
Well, they probably
there's
did,
some
we just don't know where it
research
is.
and documentation and rosters and stuff. There's
Something.
I
Okay.
know
You know,
effort is underfoot to
historically,
correct that at this point, and
historically,
it'll
women's
happen.
athletics
Okay.
came out of
Right.
the physical education and recreation department.
Right.
And then after Title IX occurred, it began migrating towards athletics and greater funding and those kinds of things.
There was some accountability at that point
Yeah.
with the funding, so records started to
Exactly.
be a little more accurate.
Yeah.
But
I'd just like to thank everybody who made all this possible, because
Yeah.
it's been so much more than I anticipated, and so very a wonderful experience. So whoever put all this together, I really
Well, I
thank
think
them.
that's the current coaches, and I think we should thank
Yeah.
them for
Yeah.
that. They have done
and
a
our
wonderful
nice
job
framed letter
reaching
plaques
out
Weekend.
were
to
a big
us.
surprise to all of
Yes.
us. We thought
Yes.
that
Yeah.
was very special.
Here we
That is
go.
so special.
Got our letter
to be recognized
as a
is
college athlete. Wow.
A little late, but better
really
than never.
meaningful.
That was
Never
very,
will
very,
tell
very
my
special.
grandson
Yeah.
what
And a big
his
surprise.
granny did.
And the Eye Association
I want to
pin.
take that home.
That was special.
Oh, you better believe I'm taking it
I
home.
don't know about that.
Oh,
Hang it on the
when we
wall.
had that
4 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's teeny.
I know.
It's been a special treat for me as being able to represent the Eye Association board, and we must thank Gail Hart for being the driving force
Yay.
behind this gathering. Aaron Harrell behind the cameras and at the controls. He'll edit it all to make us look good and sound good. But it's a pleasure. It's an honor for me to be able to sit with you and recognize the pioneering days. And thank you so much for being a part of it. We hope, obviously, to see you back many, many more times.
Hope so.
Thank you.
It's
Appreciate
been
you.
fun
Thank you so
on
much.
our side, too.
Oh my
I'll
God.
be back.
It was
Yeah,
fun.
I'll come
I'll
back.
come back.
Sure.
And we
Okay.
moved back, I'm wonderful.
Because I
You may
put
have
it on
had
the
the same one
table,
all season,
and they
but
just
it belonged
couldn't
to the
believe how
university,
much
didn't belong
bigger
to
it
us.
was.
Yeah.
I never
And
bought one.
solid wood.
got
I don't know
one
what
from when
I
I
don't know if
taught
they're sticks.
at
I'm
Crown
sure they
Point
must
High
be
School.
solid
They're
wood.
different,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was
But
part
they're
of
not
it, but
But
composite.
I,
Change
yeah, I
the-
didn't have one from here.
Yeah.
See how different it is from this one, too? And I
Yeah.
think the new sticks
Stubborn
come up
oak.
like this.
Oh, yeah,
they
they're really
almost
short and
cradle the
stubby.
ball in that little hook.
Short
so
and
they
stubby.
couldn't-
Yeah, they did a lot of fancy things that we never did, like forward,
We
back,
tried.
twist
Yeah,
it.
we always
We
tape
had
this.
to do it with, it was more complicated
Yeah.
with this stick. We
Uh-huh.
did it.
They
had to-
seem more efficient.
It was more, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
games change. All right, you
Let's-
have to direct us because we're like herding cats. Okay.
This is organic. It's great, and it's natural. It's part of it.